Welcome to English Grammar 1 Unit 5. Today we are going to study the third tense here, the past simple. Past simple, if we speak of past simple, we think of actions happened in the past and finished in the past. The function of the verb here or of the tense, it is used to speak about something happened in the past and finished in the past. It can be one action and it can be more than one action. We can use it with certain words, time words or keywords that indicates the time of the tense, or it can be used without time words. For example, I finished my work. I finished my work. This sentence is in the past simple and it is used without time word or what is called time expressions or keywords. I finished my work yesterday. Here is a sentence with a time expression yesterday. I went to the university yesterday. She went to the university yesterday. They went to the university yesterday. We went to the university yesterday. You went to the university yesterday. If you look at these examples, you will find that the verb has one form only. It is the verb in the past. It is formed by the addition of ed or d in the regular case, and sometimes there are irregular cases where you change the verb. I played football. He played football. They played football. We played football. Here the verb ends with ed. Here it is called regular verb, and the verb is in the past form and formed by the addition of ed. Certain verbs that end with e do not take ed, they take d only. For example, hope, hoped. Like, liked. The form of the verb, the form of the tense is like this: subject plus a verb in the past form. A verb in the past form, either it is regular verb, it ends with ed or d, or ied. I played, he played, she played, it played, they played, you played. Here the verb ends with ed. I hoped, he hoped, she hoped, they hoped. The verb here ended with d. In the case of irregular verbs, we have I went, they went, he went, she went, it went. The verb is go, and go is changed into went in the past. The base form is went, is go, and the verb in the past is went. I wrote, he wrote, she wrote, they wrote, you wrote. Here the verb, the base form is write, and the verb in the past is wrote. Either the verb changes completely if it is irregular, or you have some changes in the verb, not completely. We have time words or time expressions that indicate the past simple, or that show that the sentence is in the past simple, such as yesterday. They are used with the past simple, such as yesterday. The word ago, 1 hour ago, 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago, 1 week ago, 2 weeks ago, 1 day ago, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, 1 month ago, 2 months ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, etc. A period of time plus ago. We have the expression last along with a period of time. Last year, last month, last year, last week, last night. Indicates the past. A date in the past. In 1990, in January. Any month in the past, or any date in the past, any year in the past can take past simple, etc. Let's see here some examples. A. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart was an Austrian musician and composer. Was here is a verb, is in the past, and its base form is be, and is in the present, and the past form is was, because he lived in the past. He lived in the past and he died in the past. So the action is in the past and finished in the past, so we use past simple, was. He lived from 1756 to 1791. 1756 and 1791. About 230 years ago. 230 years ago. So what happened? The 1756 is in the past and 1791 is in the past. So he lived, this, the action or the verb lived is finished in the past. So we use it in the past simple. So we say he lived in from 1756 to 1791. That the two dates are in the past and finished in the past, so we use it in the past simple. He started composing at the age of 5. When he was 5 years old, he started composing. Started is as well is in the past, because while he was alive he started composing at the age of 5, means in 1761. So that date is in the past and finished in the past. That's why we use here started composing at the age of 5, and wrote more than 600 pieces of music. And wrote is also in the past, while he was alive. In the past, from 1756 to 1791, he wrote, and this date is finished. So the action is finished in the past, so we use past simple. He was only 35 years old when he died. He died in 1791. He died in 1791. 1791 is a year in the past. So if we speak about an action in a year in the past, we use it in the past simple. So we say he was only 35 years old when he died. So we use died here in the past. Here we speak about a series of actions, not one action. So a present simple can be a past simple, past simple can be of one action, or it can be of more than one action. A series of actions. A series of actions. So if it is one action or series of action, they can be expressed in the past simple if they happened in the past, in a date in the past, if they finished in the past. Suppose you want to tell a story happened before 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, you use past simple. Suppose you want to say what happened with you yesterday, you use past simple. So it can be used for a close past like yesterday, and it can be used for ancient or old past, a long time ago. So we use it for actions that are finished in the past. So we use them in the past simple. Lived, started, wrote, was, died are all past simple because they happened in between the two dates, 1756 and 1791. 1756 and 1791 finished in the past. That's why we use past simple, because actions are finished. B. Very often the past simple ends in ed. This is the case of regular verbs. This is the case of regular verbs. When verbs are regular, they take ad. They take very often ad. I work in a travel agency now. Now. And this is a job for a long period of time. So we say I work, not I am working. Although we find the word now in the sentence. But still this is a very long action. When you work for agency or for a certain company, you work for a long time, years. That's why we don't use it in the present continuous. We use it in the present simple, though we have the word now. Before that, before now, if we look to the past, past is considered before now. Now is at this moment. What comes before now is past. What comes before now is past. So before that, before means before now, I worked in a department store. My previous job was in a department store, and naturally now I work in a travel agency, so my previous job or my last job is finished. Since it is finished, then it is in the past. So we used I worked in a department store. Before that, I worked in a department store. And that action, worked in a department store, is finished. Because now, what is there? Another action. So there is a change between what happens before and what happens now. When there is a change between what happens before and what happens now, then what happens before is in the past. What happens before is in the past because it is finished. So before that, I worked in a department store is used in the past simple. Second sentence, we invited them to our party, but they decided not to come. We invited them before the party, and they decided not to come. We already invited, happened in the past, now the party is finished, and we speak about it. We say we invited them before the party means finished. We invited them in the past, but they decided not to come, and they decided in the past not to come to the party. Both verbs in the past. Both verbs are in the past. So we use past simple. And both verbs are finished. The police stopped me on my way home last night. We have here last night. The action was yesterday. And since it is last night means yesterday. And since it is yesterday, it is finished. We are today. We are today. So the speaker here is in today, speaking about what happened yesterday. And yesterday is finished, or last night is finished. So the speaker uses past simple because the action is finished in the past. So the police stopped. Here stopped, the verb stopped here is a regular verb. Laura passed her examination because she studied very hard. Laura passed her examination because she studied very hard. She went for exam and she passed the exam and succeeded. And that is finished, a finished action. And what happened before that? Before passing the exam, what happened? What did she do before? She studied before. What comes before? She studied. She studied and then went to the exam. Both actions meet each other. She keeps studying until she goes to the exam. She studied and finished the action, and then she passed the exam. And both are finished in the past. That's why both actions take past simple. If we look at verbs here, work becomes worked. The verb work in the base form becomes worked. It takes ed. It is a regular verb. The verb invite in the base form becomes invited. It takes d only because it ends with e. When the verb ends with e, you just add d. The verb decide ends with e, so it takes d only. So it becomes decided in the past. We add d only. In the case of stop, the verb stop. The verb stop is one syllable verb. If you clap your hands like this, then that means it is one syllable formed of consonant, vowel, consonant. The last letter in the verb stop is P. And what comes before the letter P? We have a vowel O. So, and the whole word is of one syllable. مقطع واحد. One syllable. So to form the past of it, we double the B, we add B, then add ed. So it becomes stopped. Double B, ed. But this is a regular verb as well. Laura passed her examination because she studied very hard. Laura passed her. The verb pass ends with double S, so we add ed. We add ed to form the past. And the verb studied ends. Its original base form is study. Study ends with D plus Y. When the verb ends with Y preceded by consonant, any consonant, D. Consonants, letters other than vowels. Vowels, I, O, U, I, O, U, A, E. 5 vowels. Other letters are consonants. So if the last letter is Y in the verb and preceded, and what comes before it is consonant like D here, and D is followed by Y, to change it to the past, we changed the letter Y into I, then add ed, so it becomes studied, studied. but many verbs are irregular. On the other hand, we find that many other verbs are irregular. The past simple does not end in ed in the irregular verbs. For example, the verb write. Write becomes wrote in the past. See becomes saw in the past. Go becomes went in the past. Shut remains shut in the past. Remains the same. Mozart wrote more than 600 pieces of music. Mozart lived in the past. So when he wrote in the past. So we must use past simple, finished action. So we use past simple. So we write Mozart wrote more than 600 pieces of music. See becomes so. We saw Rose in town a few days ago. A few days ago indicates past. Means the action is finished in the past. So we use past simple. The past simple of see is so. We say we saw Rose in town a few days ago. The verb go becomes the base form go becomes went. I went to the cinema 3 times. I went to the cinema 3 times. Last week. I went to the cinema 3 times last week. Last week shows that the action is in the past and finished. So we must use it in the past simple. So we say I went, not I go. I went. Go changes into went to the past form. So it becomes I went to the cinema 3 times last week. The verb shut remains the same form, but in the past. It was cold. It was here indicates that the action is in the past. In the past. That means it is finished. So I shut the window. I shut the window in the past when it was cold. For example, yesterday. Yesterday it was cold. So I shut the window. So we use shut. And shut here is in the past, not in the base form. Because the past and the base form are the same. C. Let's move for C. C, in questions and negatives, we use did, didn't plus infinitive. Means we transfer the verb into the base form after using did and didn't. Did is used for the question and didn't is used for the negative. I enjoyed. This is a positive sentence. She saw. This is a positive sentence. They went. This is a positive sentence. And the 3 sentences are in the past. We have the verbs here enjoyed, saw, and went. We have the verbs enjoyed, saw, and went. All the 3 verbs are in the past. And the sentence here is in the past simple. To form the question, we just need like the present simple. In the present simple, we use do or does. But in the past simple, what is the past of do or does? The past of do or does is did. So we must use did for the question if it is in the past simple. So I enjoyed in the question becomes did. We bring did forward before the subject, and then comes the subject I changed into you. So it becomes did you, and we return or change the verb enjoyed into the verb enjoy into the base form. When you use did in the question or didn't in the negative, it changed the verb into the base form. So it becomes did you enjoy question mark. She saw becomes did she see. Here the verb saw changed into see when we used did. Did they go? The verb went, they went. The verb went changed into go, into the base form because we used did. So it becomes did they go. In the case of negative, we use the subject at the beginning, then we use didn't, and then the verb enjoyed or the verb saw or went go back into their base form. So enjoyed becomes enjoy, and so becomes see, and went becomes go. So the negative sentence becomes like this: I didn't enjoy. When we use didn't, we change the verb enjoyed into its original form, into the base form, enjoy. So it becomes I didn't enjoy. She didn't see. She saw, and to make it negative, it becomes she didn't see. And the verb saw changes into see, its base form see, because we use here didn't. They didn't go. They went becomes in the negative form they didn't go. The verb went changes into its base form, into go. So it becomes they didn't go. Did you go out last night? This is the verb. Did you go out last night? Yes, I went to the cinema. Here, the speaker P should have said, yes, I did, full stop, I went to the cinema. Another sentence. But I didn't enjoy the film. When we say, did you go out last night? Last night means past. That's why the question is used in the past simple. So we use did in the beginning because it is yes or no question, and the verb went becomes go. So the person says, yes, I went to the cinema. That means last night. So the verb here is in the past because it is finished last night. We use went instead of go. But I didn't enjoy the film. The verb enjoy last night in the past, so it is enjoyed. And to make it negative, it becomes I didn't enjoy. When did Mr. Thomas die? Here is another question is in the past. He died 10 years ago. About 10 years ago. About 10 years ago means in the past. That's why the question is asked in the past. Did Mr. Thomas die 10 years ago? And we use when in the beginning. It becomes when did Mr. Thomas die? They didn't invite her to the party, so she didn't go. They didn't invite her to the party, so she didn't go. This is a negative sentence. In the positive form, it is they invited her to the party. And to make it negative, it becomes they didn't invite. Invited is changed into invite into the base form because we use didn't. So it becomes they didn't invite her to the party, so she didn't go. So she didn't go. She went. It changes into the positive sentence is So she went, and to make it negative, we use didn't, so it becomes she didn't, and went it changes into go, into its base form. It becomes she didn't go. Did you have time to write a letter? No, I didn't. This is a short answer. No, I didn't. Yes, I did. No, I didn't. Did you have time to write the letter? Here we use did because the question is in the past, and have, its original form is had, it changes into the base form have. In the next slide, I'm going to explain all these sentences. In the following examples, do is the main verb in the sentence. Did, do, didn't do. What did you do at the weekend? Here we ask about the action you did at the weekend. So we use did in the question, the auxiliary did, because the action is in the past, the weekend in the past. So we use the auxiliary verb did. And since we ask about the action, we change it with do. We can't erase it or remove it without putting do, because the meaning will become senseless. Like this, what did you at the end? ماذا أنت في نهاية الأسبوع? Like this, it becomes incorrect. What did you at the weekend? I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything means I didn't negative. I didn't do, أنا لم أفعل أي شيء. I didn't do anything. So we use didn't, and the يفعل means do. So it becomes, we use didn't for negative and do for the verb يفعل. So it becomes I didn't do anything, not I didn't anything. Now explanation for the previous slide. If you look at A here, did you go out last night? Speaker B must say, yes, I did. Full stop. Then he must say, I went to the cinema. I went to the cinema, but I didn't enjoy the film much. I went to the cinema, but I didn't enjoy the film much. I went to the cinema, but I didn't enjoy the film much. Here two actions in the past, because the person who asks the question was asking about last night. Last night is in the past. So what happened in the last night in the past is finished. So it must be in the past simple. That's why the answer was yes, I did. I went to the cinema, but I didn't enjoy the film. The first one is positive, I went to the cinema, and the second one is negative, I didn't enjoy the film. If it is positive, then it becomes I enjoyed the film. I enjoyed the film. To make it negative, it becomes I didn't, and enjoyed goes back to its base form enjoy. So it becomes I didn't enjoy the film much. The real sentence for did you go out last night? I went out last night. When you say I went out last night, to make a question for this sentence, I went out last night, to make yes or no question, here went is in the past. It is written in the red color. It is in the past, so we use did in the question. It is in the past simple, we use did in the question, so we use did. It becomes yes or no question. Did you? I is replaced by you because you speak to another person, so it becomes did you, and went it changes into its base form. What is the base form of went? Is go. So it becomes did you go out last night? This is the real sentence for the question in A. When did Mr. Thomas die? This is the second sentence. The second sentence is a question. When did Mr. Thomas die? Let's imagine that the person said, Mr. Thomas died 10 years ago. Let's say that this is the original sentence. Mr. Thomas died 10 years ago. To form yes or no question, the verb died here is in the past, so we use did. So it becomes did Mr. Thomas, and died is changed into its base form die. So it becomes did Mr. Thomas die 10 years ago, and the question mark. This is yes or no question. And to ask about 10 years ago, the period of time, to ask about time, we use WH question word when. So we put when at the beginning and omit what? We use when at the beginning and erase or remove 10 years ago. It becomes when did Mr. Thomas die? It becomes when did Mr. Thomas die? And we remove 10 years ago. We remove 10 years ago. They invited her to the party, so she went. This is, imagine, look at this sentence. This is a positive sentence. They invited her to the party, so she went. To make it negative, what happens? We use didn't because the verb invited is in the past, so it becomes they didn't, and the verb invited it changes into invite. So it becomes they didn't invite her to the party. So she went. She went is a positive sentence. To change it into the negative, it is in the past, so we use didn't. It is in the past simple, so we use didn't to make it negative. So it becomes she didn't, and we change the verb went into its base form because we used didn't. So it becomes so she didn't go. So she didn't go. I had time to write the letter. The next sentence, I had time. Look at this sentence. Imagine it. I had time to write. Think about it. I had time to write the letter. To ask a question, had is the past form of have. It is the past symbol of have. We don't have here past participle after had. It is not in the past perfect. It is in the past simple because we have a noun after had. We don't have past participle after had. So had here is the past symbol of have. Means possess. Means possess. I had time to write the letter. It is past simple. Let's imagine it is yesterday. So we say I had time to write the letter yesterday. So it is had here is the past symbol of have. So since it is the past symbol of have, we use did in the question. So it becomes did you, and we change had into its base form, we change it into the base form into have. So it becomes did you have time to write the letter? The person who answers the question say no, I didn't. If yes, he says yes, I did. This is the short answer. No, I didn't. Yes, I did. Look at this sentence. I went to the sea at the weekend. 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 The question, if we want to form yes or no question for this sentence, it becomes, did you go to the sea at the weekend? It becomes, did you go to the sea at the weekend? So this is yes or no question. If we want to ask about go to the sea at the weekend, if we want to ask a question about the verb itself, so the verb is not a human, so we ask by using what. So we use what at the beginning, so we put what before did. It becomes, what did you? And we omit or remove go to the sea at the weekend and change it by do, by the verb do. So it becomes, what did you do? It becomes, what did you do? Because we used here do to replace the verb. When we ask about the verb itself, we must use the form do in its place. If it is with ing, we use doing. If it is the base form like go, we use do. In the previous sentence, when did Mr. Thomas die? 10 years ago. We removed 10 years ago because we used the question word when to ask about 10 years ago. We don't put the question and the answer at the same sentence. So we remove 10 years ago, it becomes, when did Mr. Thomas die? But here, we can't remove go to the sea without putting anything. We must use do in its place because we are asking about the verb. So we ask, what did you do? Means ماذا فعلت. The verb فعلت equals do here. We can say went to the sea, visited my uncle, played football, etc. So we use here do because we used did in the question. So it becomes, what did you do? And do replaces the verb تفعل. ماذا كنت تفعل أو ماذا فعلت. D. The past of be is, the past of be equals am is are is in the present, and the past of am is are is was or were. Am and is changed in the present, changed into the past into was, and are in the present is changed into were in the past. I, he, she, it was or wasn't. If it is positive, we say was. If it is negative, we say wasn't. I was at home. He was at home. She was at home yesterday. It was at home yesterday. I wasn't at home yesterday. He wasn't at home yesterday. She wasn't at home yesterday. It wasn't at home yesterday. Here we use was or wasn't for he, she, it, and I. We, you, they take were or weren't. Plural, take were or were in the past of are, were. We were at home yesterday. You were at home yesterday. They were at home yesterday. Positive sentence. For negative sentences, we say you weren't at home. We weren't at home yesterday. They weren't at home yesterday. To form a question, we just move was or were forward, put it before the subject. Was I at home yesterday? Was he at home yesterday? Was she at home yesterday? Was it at home yesterday? We just take was and put it in the beginning. It becomes was I, was he, was she, was it. And we put a question mark at the end. Were you at home yesterday? Were we at home yesterday? Were they at home yesterday? Again, we move were forward. We put were before the subject. So it becomes were we, were you, were they, and a question mark at the end. This is a type of or a kind of yes or no question. Note that we don't use did in negatives. We don't use did in negatives and the questions with was or were. Okay. If the verb, the main verb like played, went, studied, visited, in the past, we use do, does, did. But if the verb in the sentence is auxiliary verb like was, were, the past of am is are, am is are, so we can't use do, does, did. So you don't mix. If you have a main verb like played, studied, worked, visited, wrote, went, then you can use did. But if you have the verb in the sentence is an auxiliary verb, helping verb, was or were in the past, so you don't need to bring or to use did in the sentence. No, you just take the helping verb was or were and put it at the beginning of the sentence to form the question. Or you just use not with it to make it negative. For example, I was angry because they were late. Here I was angry. Here we have was is a helping verb and in the past. Because they were late, where is the helping verb is and in the past. Was is the past of am and where is the past of are. Next sentence. Was the weather good when you were on holiday? Here, was the weather good? Here, the sentence is the weather was good. And to make the question, we don't hear was is a helping verb, so we don't use did. We don't use did. We move was forward. So it becomes was the weather good when you were on holiday? You were in holiday. Where is the past of are? Because the sentence is in the past. We speak about holiday that is finished. So we use past simple. The past of are is were. And the past of is was. And we brought was forward in the beginning because we want to form yes or no question. So we have a question mark at the end of the question. They weren't able to come because they were so busy. They weren't able to come to the party. That is finished. Because they were busy. And that is finished. They weren't. They were able to come. This is positive sentence. To make it negative, it becomes they weren't. We add not. Was or were, wasn't or weren't are helping verbs. So we don't use in the question another helping verb did. No, we must use when. So, and as we have here was or were helping verbs, don't use did. If you don't have helping verb, in the case of verbs like played or went or studied, then you use a helping verb which is did in the past. But here you have was and were, or wasn't or weren't. So you don't need to use did at all. Because was and were are helping verbs. Why to use another helping verb? So you don't use did at all when you use was or were in the past simple. So we say, was the weather good when you were on holiday? You is plural, so we use were in the past on holiday. They weren't able to come because they were so busy. They weren't able to come. They, plural, and were is positive. To make it negative, it becomes weren't. So it becomes they weren't able to come because they were so busy. They were so busy. Were here is positive, so we use were in the past of are. They were so busy. The last statement or sentence, did you go out last night or were you too tired? Let's divide it into two sentences. Did you go out last night? This is one sentence. This is one question. I went out last night. This is the real sentence. I went out last night. Went last night indicates past and the verb is went in the past. To form a question, since the verb is went, we use did. So we say did and I change into use. It becomes did you, and went is changed into its original base form. What is the base form of went? Go. So it becomes did you go out last night? This is the first question. Or were you too tired? The second sentence or the second part of the question was like this. The real sentence is I was tired or you were tired. To form a question, we bring were forward. If we bring was, it becomes was I. And you speak to another person, so you say you. So you change was into were. Because you say you, it becomes were you too tired, and put a question mark. This is the last question. So when you use, to conclude, when we use verb to be, was or were in the past, never use did to form a question on negative. Never use did to form a question on negative. When you use was or were in the past simple, never use did or does, never use did, sorry, not does. Never use did to form the question or to form the negative. Just use the same words, was or were, to form the question. Bring was or were in the beginning and form a question, put a question mark at the end. Or to form negative, just use was with not or were with not. It becomes wasn't or weren't. That's all. Thank you.